How's it going? It's Taylor Short with Harmonious Return. And if I don't know you, nice to meet you. I am a nature connected coach and I really work to help you find harmony in all areas of your life. And I wanted to talk today about a topic that just popped in through me, for us to talk about. And it's called What is My Why? So I started reflecting on this a little bit and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try to do a live. I haven't yet done a live for YouTube and I was so excited to do this. Um, but health, I want to talk about health because that is my why. I don't know why I'm so nervous. I do lives all the time. I guess I just haven't done them on YouTube before, so it's like getting a new feel for how everything works. But so about I would say 14 years ago, 13 years ago, I'm trying to go off of the age of my son and like when I started to come around, I started learning a lot about a lot of things when it comes to health. More so, I started questioning. This is a piece in my human design. I have this amazing piece in my head center, which is like our brains are, is to question things and have doubts about what isn't working for people and what isn't working in society. And one of the things that I started to look at was like, why do we have so much cancer? Why do we have so many issues in the United States, that is arguably one of the most developed countries in the world? Why do we have all of these people who are sick? Why are we seeing a trend now where life expectancy is starting to decrease? I started to get so curious about it, and I started to ask, what is something that everybody has in common that they would be doing differently? And started to really dive into the first place I started to look at was food, because we're all eating food. So I started learning a lot about genetically modified foods. I started learning a lot about organic foods and processed foods, and just started really diving into all of these areas. That then led me to learning about what is in our products, ingredients that are in our personal care products. Um, so I went on a whole journey of non-toxic living, or low tox living, I guess I would say, and really got familiar with, okay, the main thing for me was, what am I slathering on my son, who's just about as fair as me, if not more fair? I was slathering him with sunscreen every single day, multiple times in the summer, because I didn't want him to get sunburn, because that causes cancer, right? And then I start to learn that so many of the sunscreens that we use cause the cancer. And you absorb so much through your skin, which is your biggest organ, so quickly. So I started to get really curious about that, about what we were consuming. And it led me into I would say, first, from feeling really pissed off, then to feeling really overwhelmed, then to feeling hopeless, then to feeling all these things kind of again, angry. I also started to do a lot of research into the big pharma world, of all of the prescription drugs that we have, and learning more about some of the shadiness that goes on there. We can have a side conversation about that off this if you want to at some point. And really started to do my own research and education around all of these things, and started to realize that health in the United States, I can't speak for any other country because I've only lived here, but we assume, I did at the time as a consumer, that companies, doctors, all of the people that we put into kind of power, people that are selling our food, people that are selling us products, people that are prescribing us medication, I had, as I think most of us do, had the belief that they had my health in their best interest. And when I started to learn very quickly, when I went on this journey of discovery, is that no way, no way. I hate to sound like such a skeptic, but they just don't. unfortunately, when it comes to these things, what I have learned over all of these years of doing my own research and in many different ways is that it really goes back to money, unfortunately. And I hate to even talk bad about money because I do my own money story, but in the hands of some people, it can get really be really bad. And honestly, it can be just when you're looking at food, for example, it's a lot cheaper and easier to spray all these pesticides and chemicals over this fruit so that it doesn't spoil, so that you don't have pests eating them and all of that. But what happens is then that is passed on to us. And so what we've seen is kind of this whole creation of what I would call a society in the United States where we do not have the right, we do not have the gift of sitting back and hoping that everything that we can purchase is safe for our health. And so this is when I got really passionate about having health as my pillar of life. And that I am like, that is a non negotiable for me. This is also in my human design. If you're curious about where some of these values come through for nourishment, that's a big placement multiple times in my human design. About it's so important for me to feel like I am nourishing myself and my people. It's so much so. My husband and I, he's given up at this point and actually understands now why. But for many, many years, when I first started saying we have to only eat organic and non-GMO food, because I had done all this research, it was a lot of arguments and a lot of conversations around this isn't practical. And it's easier. It's easier to buy cheap food, right? But I had just become so immersed in understanding how like you're going to pay for it one way or another. And I would rather put an investment up front into doing the time research and finding out monetarily how I can make this work rather than finding out that one of us is going to become sick early on and then have to live life fighting cancers at a young age, and all of these things. So health became my number one about 13, 14 years ago, my pillar. I call it kind of my anchor. It's something that you anchor in. This has totally transformed my life. This is how I live my day to day. I also then have worked to wrap in. I'm a huge nature lover. You can kind of tell behind me. I've got my plants. I'm very, very connected to nature. I'm intuitively connected to the earth. I am what I call a plant whisperer. And I really do feel like we have just gotten so far away from the point, and disconnection from the earth is also why we are very sick as a nation. For being as developed as we are, we have, I mean, the numbers in pharmaceuticals and how many medications all these people are on, to how many people have cancer and all these things, like it's just prevalent. I guarantee you, if I asked you, you could probably name off probably 5 to 10 people immediately that within your circle that have had a type of cancer. And it's happening to people earlier and earlier. So this is what I call a systematic problem. You can see this through, I won't keep going on the doom and gloom, but you'll see this through like people will be like, oh, it doesn't really matter. If I have a shampoo that has some chemicals in it. You're right. It probably won't make that big of a difference. It will impact you for sure, but it won't make that big of a difference. But when you are drinking tap water that has cancer-causing chemicals in it, when you are putting on makeup every day that has those same type of chemicals in it, when you are eating processed foods that have all of these things that suppress your immune system and add to disease, when you are not moving your body, when you are drinking alcohol, which is also a carcinogen, when you're doing all of these things stacking on each other every single day, it is a recipe for disaster. And our bodies are so strong. They work really hard to fight for us all the time. And they're doing that, but they can only do so much. And so that's why I've really come back to um, health and how I look at it every single day. It's something that I look at. And it's not that I never have processed food. In fact, I have processed food quite a bit. But I have the education, the knowledge to be able to make an educated decision on when or not I'm going to have this, right? And what are some other things that I can do to help my health? So, this is something that has trickled into every single area of my life. And now I bring this into my work as well. I really am also very passionate about your mental and your spiritual health. So as a coach, that's what we focus in on is all three areas. How can you be the healthiest, most aligned version of yourself? And the thing about it is the way that we can be healthiest is very simple. It does not mean that it's easy. We live in a world that we have are bombarded with all of these things, but really it's coming back to simplicity and having real food and having space to process your thoughts and not be so consumed by um, being connected to way too many people that is not in our nature to be connected with, where we came from very small tribes, our ancestors, regardless of where you're from, we came from, tribes or small communities, not even that long ago, really, when you look at the history of the world. And we just aren't our brains are not meant to be this connected to so many people. And so when we start to create and learn how to create some space and do healthy things and practices for our brains, it can help. And then also spiritually as well, having some sort of connection to that other realm or that yeah, I guess other realm, whatever that looks like for you, is how that can help you benefit. So I wanted to just get on and talk a little bit about my why. And I don't necessarily need to live a life where I'm 105. That's not my goal. My goal is that I live my life 100% feeling so good, feeling so happy, feeling so aligned up until maybe 2 to 3 days before I die. Most people are dying so young these days. They're getting an injury, they're getting a disease, and it kind of starts to spiral from there. And they're staying at home more, they're sitting on their couch more, they can't get around. And that is what, or even things like the mental diseases that are coming through. That is like my worst nightmare. So I am doing all of this so that I can live my full capacity and potential. If you know me, I'm not one to settle for mediocrity, but it doesn't mean that I have to live this jazzy, flashy life. It's finding the magic and the simplicity. Finding how good your body feels when you start getting rid of all the stuff that has been dragging you down. Oftentimes we don't realize how good we can feel until we start feeling good. So that's what I've got for you today is what is your pillar for how you want to wake up, how you want to live your day. Because if you don't have your pillar, I guarantee there's going to be 25,000 different people on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and your work, whatever, that are going to tell you what they think it should be for you. And you need to become really clear for yourself. What is the one thing? What is the reason why I do what I do? And once you start to figure out that and deepen into that, your world starts to really, really make a lot of sense, have a lot of clarity, give you some guardrails and direction of how to, live throughout the day. What are the daily things that you do as this version of you? This is a lot of work that I do with my clients, but really it gives you like that anchor, those roots underneath you to go out into the world where we are connected to 2,500 people a day. Not natural for us, but it's the reality. So creating health, mind, body, spirit in In a society that doesn't promote that can feel like an uphill battle sometimes, but that is my goal for you, for me, for us all, so that you can feel amazing in your life, so that you can reach your potential and higher, whatever that looks like for you in your life. So if you're interested in this, let me know. If you have a word, if you have an anchor, if you have a why, pop it in the comments. If you like this and you're interested in the work that I do and the stuff that I talk about, go ahead and hit subscribe. Hit like if you just enjoyed it, and share if you feel like anybody else would like to hear some of these words. So sending you so much love. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.